I was holding the cracked plate over the bin when my son dropped to his knees. That was how the trouble started. My hand was already shaking the nylon bag open, ready to let the plate fall inside, when I heard a sound behind me that did not belong in a normal morning. A grown boy kneeling on a cold kitchen floor, crying like a child that just lost his way. "Please, Mummy, please do not throw it away." Those words hit me harder than if he had shouted. I stood there, confused, angry, afraid. A plate, just one cracked plate. In my house, we throw things away when they spoil. We do not beg for broken things. But my son was on the floor, tears running down his face, holding my wrapper like his life was inside it. That was when I knew something was very wrong. Before that moment, the day had been normal. I woke up early, swept the compound, boiled water, and started washing plates. As I washed, I noticed that same plate again, white, old, with one long crack across the middle. I had seen it many times before, sitting quietly in the cupboard like it was hiding from work. I remembered how nobody ever used it. Any time plates finished and that one was left, my children would rather wash another dirty plate than touch it. I noticed, but I did not talk. Children have their ways. I thought it would pass. But that morning, I was tired of nonsense. Everything is expensive now. Plate is plate. Crack or no crack, if it can still hold food, fine. If not, out it goes. That was my thinking as I lifted it. As I turned it in my hand, I remembered the day it cracked. It was during lunch. Everybody was eating. My second son, Chinedu, was the one using it. The plate slipped, hit the table, and cracked small. Not serious. We all laughed. Nobody cried. Nobody shouted. So why was it now a problem? I washed it, dried it, and walked toward the bin. That was when I saw Chinedu enter the kitchen. He stopped when he saw the plate in my hand. His face changed. His eyes became wide like he saw danger. "Mummy, please." I thought he was joking. I told him to move so I could finish my work. That was when he went down on his knees. The kitchen became quiet, too quiet, the kind of quiet that makes your heart beat loud in your ears. I asked him what was wrong. He did not answer at first. He just cried. Not loud crying, silent crying that comes from deep inside the chest. I dropped the plate on the table. At that moment, my anger disappeared. Fear took its place, because a mother knows when tears are not normal, and I knew this plate was not just a plate. I asked Chinedu to stand up from the floor, but he did not move. He stayed there like his legs had forgotten how to work. His tears dropped on the kitchen tiles, one by one, like they were counting something important. I carried a stool and sat down in front of him. A mother does not shout when fear enters her chest. A mother waits. I told him to look at me. He tried, but his eyes kept running away. I asked him again why a cracked plate could bring him to his knees. I told him plates break every day in this house, and we do not cry for them. He nodded, but his crying did not stop. That was when I knew he was fighting something bigger than the plate. I sent his younger ones out of the kitchen. Children hear things they should not carry. When they left, the room felt heavier. The plate sat on the table between us, quiet, like it was listening. I told him to talk. I said whatever it was, we would face it together. He opened his mouth, closed it, then shook his head. He said nothing. I waited. Minutes passed. My knees started to ache, but I did not stand. Mothers know patience like hunger. We have learned to sit with it. Finally, he asked me a question instead. He asked if I remembered the day that plate cracked. Of course I remembered. I told him it was just lunch, just food, just a small accident. He shook his head slowly. To me, it was small. To him, it was not. He told me that was the last day he ate food with peace in his heart. Those words entered my body like cold water. I asked him what he meant. He wiped his face with his hand, sniffed, and spoke again, slowly, like he was walking on broken glass. He said that day, while he was eating from that plate, his phone rang. He saw the name on the screen, but he did not pick up. He said he was angry. He said pride was sitting on his chest like a heavy stone. I asked him who called. He did not answer quickly. When he did, he said the name like it could break him again. Emeka. I knew that name. Everybody knew that name. Emeka was his closest friend. They were like twins without blood. Always together, always laughing, always planning big things with empty pockets. I knew they had quarreled. I thought it was small boy quarrel. Boys always fight and come back. I did not know it had grown teeth. Chinedu said Emeka had been calling him for days. He said he ignored all of them. That day, while holding that plate, he decided to ignore one more. He said he planned to call back after eating. But food finished, the plate was washed, the day moved on. Night came with bad news. As my son spoke, my chest became tight. I remembered that night. I remembered the knock on the gate. I remembered the cry that followed. I looked at the plate again. It was no longer a plate. It was a witness. And my son had been eaten with his regret every day since then.
When Chinedu said the name Emeka, something heavy dropped inside me. I did not need him to explain everything. My body already remembered the pain before my mind caught up. That night came back to me clearly. The night the gate was knocked like someone was running from death. I had been in the room folding clothes. I thought it was late visitors or maybe neighbors with small trouble. I did not know sorrow had learned our address. When I opened the door, I saw faces that were not normal. Eyes red, words shaken. Before anyone spoke, my heart already understood. They said Emeka had an accident. They said he did not survive. They said it was fast. I remembered Chinedu sitting on the chair that night, quiet, too quiet. No crying, no shouting, just staring at his phone like it would explain itself. I thought he was strong. I thanked God that my son was strong. Now I knew better. Strength had turned into silence. Silence had turned into poison. As he talked in the kitchen, I saw how that poison had been eating him slowly. Every day he woke up carrying a question that had no answer. What if he picked the call? What if he dropped the spoon? What if he spoke one word? The cracked plate became the place where all those questions rested. He told me after Emeka's burial, he came back home and went to the kitchen alone. Everybody was asleep. He opened the cupboard and saw the plate. He touched the crack with his finger. He said it felt like a line between before and after. Before, he had a friend. After, he had guilt. He said he tried to use the plate again one day. He put food in it and sat down. His hands started shaking. His throat closed. He could not swallow. He washed the plate and returned it. Since then, he avoided it like fire. I listened and felt my eyes burning. I was angry with myself. How did I not see this? How did I not ask? Mothers think we see everything, but sometimes pain hides well. I remembered how many times I scolded him for being quiet, how many times I told him to be cheerful like before. I did not know I was asking him to forget something that was alive inside him. The plate was not just reminding him of Emeka, it was reminding him of the moment he chose pride over peace. That is why he could not let it go. I stood up and picked the plate carefully. For the first time, I did not see dirt or crack. I saw time frozen in white ceramic. I told him the truth. I told him he was not God. I told him nobody knows the last call. I told him Emeka did not die because of him. But even as I spoke, I knew words do not erase guilt easily. Regret is stubborn. It likes to stay. I placed the plate back on the table. I did not throw it away. Some things are broken, but they are still needed. After that day in the kitchen, nothing in the house changed, yet everything changed. We still woke up early. We still cooked, ate, argued, laughed small. But there was a new weight moving around with us, quiet and patient. Chinedu stopped kneeling in front of me, but his eyes followed that plate wherever it went. If I washed it, he watched. If I dried it, he watched. He did not touch it, but he guarded it with his spirit. I tried many things the way mothers do. I cooked his favorite food. I asked him to follow me to the market. I talked about his childhood stories, hoping laughter would open a door. Sometimes it worked for a few minutes. Then his face would go far again. One evening, I decided to move the plate to the top shelf. I told myself it was for safety. I did not want it to break fully. As I climbed the stool and placed it there, my hands were careful, like I was carrying something alive. That night, Chinedu could not sleep. I heard him pacing in his room, back and forth, back and forth. He finally came to sit in the sitting room, staring at nothing. I asked him what was wrong. He said he just wanted to be where I was. I understood. The plate was no longer in his sight, and without it, his mind had nowhere to rest. That was when I learned something painful. Healing does not always mean removing the thing that hurts. Sometimes it means learning how to sit with it without bleeding. The next day I brought the plate down again and placed it where he could see it, but not where it could be used. Not in the cupboard, not on the table. I placed it inside the glass cabinet where we kept things we valued but did not touch. When he saw it, he stopped walking. He looked at me. His eyes asked a question. I nodded. He sat down and breathed out like someone who had been holding air for too long. We did not talk about Emeka that day. We talked about rain, about work, about food prices, normal things. But something had shifted. The plate had moved from being a wound to being a reminder that could be watched from a distance. Weeks passed. Chinedu started going out again. Not far, just small walks, small visits. He still came back early. He still had quiet days. But the house no longer felt like it was carrying a secret alone. One afternoon, I caught him standing in front of the cabinet, looking at the plate. He was not crying, he was just looking. I asked him what he was thinking. He said he was thinking about how life does not warn us before it changes. He said if he could speak to his younger self, he would say, "Pick the call." I wanted to tell him we all miss calls, we all miss moments, but I kept quiet. Sometimes silence is the better comfort. As a mother, I wanted to fix everything. I wanted to glue the plate. I wanted to erase the crack. I wanted to rewind that afternoon. But mothers are not time. All I could do was stand with my son while he learned how to live with a break that could not be closed.
Time passed the way it always does, quietly, without asking anybody for permission. Rain came and went. Harmattan dust settled on windows. New worries entered the house, and old ones learned to sit quietly in corners. The cracked plate stayed where it was, inside the glass cabinet. At first, visitors asked questions. Why keep a broken plate among fine things? I would smile and say, "It is important." I did not explain. Some things are not for explaining. They are for carrying. Chinedu changed slowly, not like in films where pain leaves suddenly. His change came in small signs. He started waking up earlier. He helped his younger ones with homework. He began to eat without forcing himself. Some days were still hard, but they no longer swallowed him whole. One evening he came into the kitchen while I was cooking. He stood near the cabinet for a long time. I did not disturb him. I stirred my pot and waited. He told me he had a dream the night before. In the dream, Emeka did not say anything. He just smiled and walked away. Chinedu said when he woke up, his chest did not feel heavy for the first time in a long while. I listened and nodded. I did not rush to give meaning. Healing does not like noise. A few days later, something happened that surprised me. We were eating lunch when one of the younger ones reached for the cabinet playfully and joked about using the cracked plate. Before I could talk, Chinedu shook his head. He said no. Not with fear, not with anger, just no. That was when I knew something had closed gently inside him. Later that night, Chinedu brought the plate down himself. My heart jumped, but I stayed still. He washed it carefully, dried it, and brought it to me. He said the plate did its work. I did not understand at first. I asked him what he meant. He said the plate helped him remember without running mad. It helped him face the pain instead of hiding from it. But now he did not need to hold it so tightly anymore. I felt tears rise, but I did not cry. We stood there quietly. Then he placed the plate back in the cabinet, not because he was afraid to let it go, but because he chose to let it rest. The plate was never used again, but it was never thrown away. Sometimes I catch myself looking at it when the house is quiet. The crack is still there, it always will be, but it no longer looks sharp. It looks like a line that life drew and then moved on. As a mother, I learned something I will never forget. We cannot protect our children from pain. We cannot answer every missed call for them. We cannot rewind their mistakes. But we can sit with them while they learn to forgive themselves. That cracked plate taught me that broken things do not always mean failure. Sometimes they mean a lesson survived. And in my house, among pots and plates that come and go, one broken plate remains, not as a reminder of loss, but as proof that my son found his way back from regret.